90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and I want to welcome everyone to another program. We have just finished up Thanksgiving. I know I had a wonderful evening with my family.
Oh
Hope you
yeah,
did the same, Brother Brown.
absolutely. Good food, I'll with the exception of that L that we
Yeah.
took on Thanksgiving Day. But hey, you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for all the kingdom that traveled down to Dallas, I want to wish you guys safe travels back. Like you said, a tough loss, man. All those close games we were winning last season, we're coming up on the short end of the stick.
Yeah,
The thing that I always remain optimistic about, as long as we're competing and we have a chance, it seems like, to win all of these games. And so, we just got to keep fighting and putting ourselves in a position to at least have a chance to win.
absolutely. And my thing is I see that we're just about 3 to 5 plays away from being where we need to be, maybe 5 to 7 plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so again, as we talked earlier about that O-line, and if we can just keep some leadership at each level of the defense like we do on offense,
Yeah.
then I think we'll be okay. We can't sell the leadership once they
Right.
get off their rookie contract.
Absolutely. You got to find a way to start keeping some of them folks. But like I said, man, it's a beautiful day with family, a beautiful day here in Kansas City, man. Fall has been great so far, weather-wise in Kansas City. I always think that it's the best time of year here. And so, now about to move into December.
Yikes.
And, hey, we don't know what we're going to get. And I didn't mention earlier, if you're listening to us on kkfi.org or wherever you are at, hope you are having a wonderful weekend as well. And so, like I said, man, was blessed to have a wonderful Thanksgiving, spending time with family. But I did want to spend some time and really kind of reflect on the origin of Thanksgiving and what it actually means to the indigenous and Native American community in America. And so we have some sound that I want to play that really kind of speaks to that from some young Native American women that I found very powerful. So I want to listen to the sound, and then we'll come back and have some conversation around that.
Thanksgiving, America. I'm Donna, and I'm here with my friends to tell you the real history behind this holiday. Growing up, I knew that what they told you in school about Thanksgiving wasn't true. That's not the true story. The true story behind Thanksgiving was, after every killing of a whole village, these European settlers celebrated it, and they called it Thanksgiving. But it wasn't until Abraham Lincoln became president that it became an official holiday.
He ordered 38 Dakota men to be hung for war crimes after the sacred holiday Christmas.
We take this time to remember our elders who lost their lives due to what really happened. Usually my mom makes a Native American dish for us and we pray.
Growing up, I would be kind of annoyed that they didn't know what actually happened on Thanksgiving and that they're actually celebrating the deaths of many people and many tribes that were lost.
Whether it's to give thanks or to be with your family, you should learn how the holiday was established in the first place.
I'm thankful for being born indigenous to this continent.
I'm thankful that I still have my culture.
I'm thankful that my elders kept our culture alive all these years.
I'm thankful to be indigenous, resilient, and alive.
I'm thankful for us all to be able to stand together, stand strong, and stand as one.
Happy Thanksgiving, America.
.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. That was some sound from a YouTube piece of some Native American young women expressing their feelings around Thanksgiving and its origin and what it means to their community. And I felt that it was a very powerful piece that we should all be mindful of. Like I said, it is an opportunity to get together with your family and express thanks for those things that you all, determine. But we do have to be mindful of the origin, and especially in these times when there's such an effort to suppress, the ugly history, so many of the things that have taken place in this country.
Oh, absolutely. Again, and we often don't think about the sacrifice and loss
Yes.
that so many people had to endure in order for us to be comfortable the way that we are here in these Americas today.
Yes.
Again, because we have to remember African Americans are not indigenous to North America. Europeans obviously are not indigenous to North America. And so, again, in order for us to be here comfortably in somebody else's living room,
Right.
somebody
Yes,
lost
absolutely.
out.
Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifice, and I encourage.
Well, I wouldn't call it sacrifice.
Well, I'm talking about from the Native Americans' perspective.
Yeah, they were sacrificed.
Yeah, exactly. And so, just the idea that that history is out there and is available and is truth. And so I just think it's important that, like you said, we are mindful about that. And so, as we move, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, it reminds me of a African proverb that says the hunter will continue to be the hero until the lion gets a historian.
Right.
And so,
that makes sense.
Again, so oftentimes history is told by the victor,
Yes.
and it's not told from the complexity of every side involved, good, bad, or indifferent. And again, that's one of the big things that we have to think about with what's happening on the landscape of education today.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you mentioned when you talk about the complexity, because so often we want to reduce these very big issues to black and white, or to just one single thing, and or one single perspective. And like you said, when you learn from history, it's best told from multiple perspectives. And so, it's like, November flew by.
Right.
Really, 2025 has flown by, and now we're moving into December. As we've continued to remind our audience, thank God I've been through dealing with elementary age children, and having to go to parent teacher conferences.
6'7", 6'7".
See, I don't even know what that means.
I don't either. Still,
I've seen the headlines of 6'7", but I haven't had to go investigate it.
I've been trying.
Interest.
I've been asking. I still don't know, and I don't think they know either.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to worry about it. But, for those of you who do have young students and young learners, we want to continue to remind you how important it is that you stay on top of their learning progress and be involved. And so, we're checking in. We're talking about, end of semester. And just want to kind of, remind our audience from your perspective as the educator in the building, some of the things that they should be looking for around development and getting prepared for that end of semester.
Absolutely. Well, again, just some basic stuff. If you want your child, if they're in middle school, high school, let's start there. If they got a C in any class, they need to get an A this second quarter in order to maintain that B average. So every C, you need an A to counterbalance it.
Okay.
So that's what you have to remember if you need a 3.0. If you're looking for a 3.0, if you're looking for scholarship money, you got to be 3.2, 3.3, somewhere in that category. So really think about how you can really kick in hard. This is not the time to cruise into Christmas vacation. This is the home stretch of the first half, and so you want to finish strong. Again, look at those grades and see where your child's deficits are regardless. Now, this is for any grade level. If you're seeing your child is having a deficit and they're saying that they have a deficit in math and they're saying that they want to be an engineer or they like the sciences, then there needs to be a concerted effort to find things to support that. If they're saying that they want to be an artist, or they go to a school where they're not getting that particular interest fed, then you have to go ahead and figure out how you're going to retrieve that. Again, we were talking about history. Raytown School District doesn't teach history in grade school anymore. Now, good, bad, or indifferent.
Wow.
But again, now it's up to the parents and the community to fill that void that's already been there. Again, I had a parent come, prime example of what should happen. She received those quarter grades, and this is Hickman Mills School District. Child was not doing so good in math, and so this is his third week coming to me, and we're working on basic multiplication and doing the homework help. And so just within the 2 weeks, he's already showing improvement in mastering his basic multiplication facts. Again, I didn't think it was, she came like, man, is he going to make it?
Right, like it was dire.
Critical condition.
Yes.
She came back in after the first session looking like, is he going to live?
Right.
Is he going to make it? It's like, yeah, he's absolutely going to make it.
Yeah, I know that frustration. I know that fear.
Yeah.
You're like, this baby. How could they not know?
And but again, it wasn't as off base as you
felt from a parent's perspective.
And what does need to happen for, I think, a lot of students, they need to be taken out of the classroom so somebody can really pay attention to what they're saying and what they're doing in a real way. So with this particular student, I noticed that his uptake wasn't fast. Like his motor didn't turn on fast.
Right.
And so that could be misconstrued as not knowing because you haven't given him the time to really process and get going, just like warming up.
Right.
You go out and start running hard, you pull something. And so, again, I noticed that right out the gate. And so if the class is moving fast, and if you can fade into the back, you know what I'm saying? Because there's 20 kids in this class. And so if you didn't raise your hand fast enough to say that you didn't understand, or, you're feeling a little apprehensive, does everybody understand?
Right. Yeah. Right.
So that type of perspective, so you start to get those gaps. Again, he could articulate what he was doing in class and could write it down and show me. But we just have these gaps with the basic skills like mastering those multiplication facts that will allow for him to definitely excel a lot faster. So you have to really be engaged and interested, and I think you should probably consult someone outside the classroom because they can really focus on your child.
Yeah, and just listening to you talk about that, just brings to mind once again how important it is as a parent for you to even understand what type of a learner that you have. Because teachers are overwhelmed. And like you said, that little nuance of you recognizing that this kid in particular takes a little time to get warmed up.
Yeah.
And so, it'd be tough for a teacher that has 25 other students to really hone in on that.
Right.
But as a parent, if you're aware, and when you're having those conversations about your learner, bring that to the table. And like you said, that's a part of our responsibility. And so I'm glad you made that sort of very, nuanced observation, because I think that's important because we have to recognize that all of our kids learn differently.
Right.
And, and as parents, it's incumbent upon us to advocate for our children with their teachers, and being, a part of that conversation means being aware.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I think that's a great point to bring up as to recognize what type of a learner that you do have.
Right.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just speaking back to your point because we have to shift. Now, we don't want to go into the realm of helicopter parents because that's overbearing and problematic for the instructional process.
Right.
But we do need to be somewhere in between just thinking that the school has it figured out and a helicopter parent.
Right.
because they both have their merits.
Well, and I think that, like you said, that speaks to the larger conversation that we've been having around collaboration and teamwork. And when you have communication, you can figure those things out. But if you're not communicating, or the relationship is adversarial, what are you going to get accomplished?
Absolutely.
And so,
yeah, again, and that should be the general modus operandi. Everybody is in here in support of the learner, the teacher, the administration, the parent. And so at the point where everything is the learner's fault, we're missing the mark. Again, I don't go into the store and then you not being able to fulfill my needs becomes my fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
right.
like, well, we don't have that. Did you find everything okay, sir? That's what they ask you on your way out. That's not my problem that I didn't find everything okay.
Yes, exactly.
That's the store's problem.
And and that sort of a mentality, I don't know if you saw this story here. It may have happened a couple of years ago where there was an administrator at a high school, I want to say it may have been in Dallas, where she pulled a group of black students in to chastise them about the school's test scores, to tell them that they were bringing down the school's average. And, that it was their responsibility. And it's like just the audacity of you as an administrator to put the onus and the responsibility, the full responsibility on these kids for where they stood relative to the rest of the school was just crazy.
Right.
To not even bring the parents in first.
Right.
To bring the kids in first. And, of course, I think she ended up losing her job. But just to have that sort of a mindset as an educator.
Again, well, because see, one big thing that you assume is just that these kids care about these tests.
Yeah.
you have to assume that they do not care. And I don't mean that from get this, but I care about my shoes. I care about my hair, shoes, clothes, care about.
Yeah.
Now I do want to do well, but I don't care.
Right. Yeah. And then, like you said, in terms of an educator and taking that responsibility of helping to inspire that enthusiasm around what it is that you're trying to teach them and educate them on. And like you said, we want to hammer that nail that's a shift in mindset.
Right.
As an educator.
Right. Again, my test scores should be a byproduct of the fact that I'm learning.
Right.
Not the end all. So again, when I took my hunter safety training, it wasn't whether or not I was going to do well and pass the test, because I want to be safe while I'm out in the woods. I want to keep myself and keep other people safe. I don't want to run afoul of the law. So by virtue of me wanting to know all of these things, the byproduct was 100% on the test.
Right, absolutely.
Now, if we change that and we have young people that are going to school that really have a mission for what they want to do with their education, then the byproduct will be
better grades and
better test scores. It's not the end all.
Right. And you want to start with engagement.
Right.
And so, just to kind of bring things back home, parents, we're moving into December, end of the semester. Extremely important that, you address and identify any deficits and recognize that, especially with your elementary age learners, it's not insurmountable at this point.
No, absolutely not. It's not insurmountable. Again, it doesn't get to the point, not until you're a freshman, and then you have algebra, and then that's your transcript now. So now this is the piece that will walk with you if you want to do anything post high school. So now that freshman, these grades walk with you. Now they're not teaching you how to multiply. They're not teaching you how to divide. You're using all of those tools to do algebra. And algebra is a tool in and of itself for geometry and calculus and everything that you do beyond that.
You build on.
And so again, now it starts to be too fast paced for you to get those. Now still, if you take a semester, because this is actually what I had to do. I wasn't successful in my first semester of algebra, so then I went back to basic general math that second semester, and then back to algebra the following year, and just had to take an extra semester of math my senior year, but I needed to go back and retrieve some things, partly because my 8th grade teacher couldn't teach because they were very disruptive. I mean, literally, my whole grade year, for 8th grade year at King, I learned nothing, literally, and it showed up my freshman year immediately.
Right. And so, like you said, it's so important that parents participate and are part of that foundation. And so, man, it's just amazing how quick these segments end up going. So we are actually up against our first break. So we're going to take that break. So if you're just tuning in, you are listening to 90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we'll be back after this break. 90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown. And before we went to break, we were just reminding parents how important it is that you check in with your learner, making sure that they're on pace through the school year so far. And just want to play some sound from Jules Santana and just kind of reiterate how important it is that the mindset that we're trying to overcome. So we're going to listen to the sound and then we'll come back and speak on it.
By the time they get to 9th grade, they should be just learning how to start businesses
These kids can't read
and how to. But they don't really need to know how to read.
Wait, stop. Wait,
I ain't gonna say that. I say that respectfully. I'm not saying that in a way to be literate, because you're not supposed to be illiterate, but you can.
What's more important, reading or math?
Math.
Told you.
Math. I think you could listen to a book on YouTube. You can still obtain the information. You don't have to know how to read.
90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. That was some sound from Jules Santana on a podcast talking about giving his opinion on whether or not literacy was important and
Over math.
And, you can listen to a book on YouTube. You don't necessarily have to know how to read to understand. So.
Yeah, and that's all fine and well. And what I equate it to is that, imagine going to a foreign country. And now, as literate as I am in the United States.
Right.
Now, when I'm in Uganda, and then they start speaking Luganda or the other native languages, or I'm in Kenya and they're speaking Swahili, now I have to just be an innocent bystander and hope that the people are
right.
Well, I don't have to hope that the people that I'm with are
good,
but that's now you're totally dependent.
Absolutely. I mean, and so that's the thing where, I just wanted to, play that sound to kind of reiterate with parents just the kind of mentality that you have to overcome and what your kids are hearing
Correct.
On social media, and understand that you have to counteract that and be intentional with your behavior as a parent. And so, as we are in these times and just this assault on public education, and at the same time when the president of the United States is telling people we don't have the educated population to fill these engineering jobs, we have to bring in special talent rather than educate our own people. It just goes to show you how important it is that we take ownership of our education as parents, and like I said, continue to build those relationships with your kids' teachers, with the administration, and completely participate in your child's learning.
No, absolutely. Again, one big piece is that our young people really have to have a vision of themselves functioning in the future.
Yes.
As adults in these lanes that they're considering. We can't afford to have people going to college as engineer majors and finishing as history majors.
Yeah.
Again, because they have the interest and they have the talent, but they don't have the study skills. They don't have the requisite, again, math skills that allows for you to get over those weeder courses into the next level. So those things become huge. They don't have the rigor,
Right.
because they're not getting the rigor. Again, kids are not like we used to have to read novels, now, for
Right.
good, bad, or indifferent. And again, nay on Shakespeare for me, but on George Orwell, oh, absolutely. Again, ate it up. And so, but being introduced to that.
And I think too, you know, a larger point that you talked about when you talked about the communications program that you all ran, it wasn't necessary it wasn't necessarily to introduce them into mass communication with the idea that they were all going to become TV hosts or journalists.
Correct.
It was to spark interest. And so when we talk about reading those novels, it was about the discipline of it, and to comprehend and to have to read those pages and then have to come back and tell what you read. And so a lot of times it's the bigger picture. And it's developing those muscles that, once again, when you know, it becomes rigorous, that's what you lean into as your foundation. And if you never develop that, then, like you said, when you get to that college level and the courses get tough, you know, let me look at something else instead of sticking it out. And so, you know, we just want to continue to encourage parents to, you know, really dig in with your learners. And so, you know, we want to definitely kind of transition this conversation, because we've been talking a lot about, you know, free speech and dealing with some issues. And so we talk about free speech and accountability in this era, and especially around social media, where as before, you know, you could express your opinion and maybe the 3 or 4 people in your inner circle only heard it.
Right.
Now you put a post on Facebook, and now everybody has eyes on it. And depending on what that looks like, that can cost you your job. You know, that could cost you your standing wherever. And so, you know, it's just interesting at a time where people are losing their job around Facebook posts. And then you have the President of the United States addressing, you know, journalists and calling them out of their names, and just, you know, no decorum around the way in which he interacts with people. And so it's like, where's the accountability from that perspective? And so I thought this would be, you know, kind of a good conversation to have, you know, and rather timely for the times that we're living in. So I don't know, we want to jump right into the clip, or?
Well, let's play the clip, and then we'll come back and have a little bit more commentary after that. I think that would be...
Okay, cool. So we're going to listen to some sound from the Midas Touch, and then we'll come back and have some conversation around it.
And here's the longer clip where Donald Trump attacks the reporter as stupid, and she was asking him a very basic question. Let's play it right here.
A question about this tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it
90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown. And that was some sound from a clip from the Midas Touch, but it was a press conference that the president was giving talking about the shooting of the two National Guardsmen and the assailant. And he was just being asked very basic questions around the vetting of this former operative who apparently interacted with our CIA, and how he ended up being granted asylum in April of 2025 under the Trump administration, and just ask a very reasonable question, and that was his response.
Yeah.
You
Again,
know.
if me as an educator, if I get a question from a student, and then I say, "What are you, stupid?" You know,
there's going to be some consequences.
There's going to be some serious consequences. And then to just dial it back a little bit earlier in the week, if I was talking to one of my coworkers and I was like, "Shut up, piggy." I don't think I would have a job. If I did those two, one, they would have to, maybe let's find out, because that's out of character for Marcus.
Right.
But two, I would fire that person.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, when you're talking about the top of the pyramid,
right,
you're talking about the president of the United States, and
who should be modeling for every American citizen.
Absolutely. And, this is just, the latest in a long line of, just horrible behavior. And it's just, it always it frustrates me when we talk about, you have CNN, you have MSNBC, you have all of these 24-hour news networks. And very rarely do you see any segments around that sort of accountability, or even any sort of deep dives into that sort of behavior and how that impacts our society. And, once again, it's like, you have these 4 and 5 hour time segments to fill.
Yeah.
And there's so much more investigative work that could be being done. But,
again,
corporate media is just not interested in that.
Imagine these same folks, you go to your children's high school or grade school or middle school, and you find out the teacher has been talking to your child like that.
Yes.
Now, when we're peers amongst peers, when we were in junior high school, that was the dozens was okay. In high school, on the bus, on the way to the game, on the way home after a victory, the dozens would be going.
Yes.
But also, sometimes it was in good nature and sometimes it wasn't.
Yes. Right.
But at the same time, we're talking about junior high school behavior at best being displayed at the highest levels of our government. And it's not just the White House.
And like you said, this is happening at the highest levels of our government. And it's just similar to the excuses that were made when the Access Hollywood tape came out, that this is normal locker room behavior.
No, it's not.
It's not. It would be disturbing if we were talking about teenage boys. But when you're talking about somebody that's 79 years old with this sort of juvenile, behavior and just his lack of vocabulary, all of these things that should be disturbing.
And let's be clear, locker room conversation is about agreed upon, sanctioned escapades, not violating people against their will.
Absolutely right. That is not normal, ladies. I don't care what anyone tells you. That's not normal locker room banter. No. Never was. So, but like you said, it's just, it's one thing we're talking about some kids just, figuring things out and talking crazy versus a grown man in a professional setting talking about a situation where folks have lost their lives. And this is how you choose to refer to someone and talk to someone. And, like I said, this is just the latest in a long line of transgressions when we talk about what should be normal decorum and normal behavior.
They got on Barack for wearing a tan suit.
Okay, absolutely. And, and like I said, I think his behavior is one thing, and I have very, very little expectation around him and his behavior based on, 40 years of him being in the public space.
Right.
But it's always the people that report on him or that Trump-splain. Because what he meant was this.
Right.
Or the people that will say, and see, that's what I love about him. He's just so direct. Like, really? Like, he's so authentic. Like,
it's
that's
one
something
thing to be
champion.
And it's one thing to be direct and authentic, and then it's another thing to be rude and inconsiderate.
Absolutely, yes. And so that's the thing.
It's not the same.
Not the same at all. And so, and to know that you would not accept this behavior from anyone else.
Yeah.
You would have stopped referring to him as presidential a long time ago.
Correct.
Even in the way in which reporters have been, they have cleared out the White House press corps and have, kind of stacked it with people who will ask him friendly questions. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But even those that have remained, don't really get to challenge him or don't challenge him in the ways that I think are sufficient for the type of behavior that he's showing. When he called the female reporter a pig on, a plane full of other reporters and no one says anything, no one stands up.
I just want to ask my question.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe that they would do the same for, President Obama or any other brown person that happened to occupy that space.
Yeah. And again, it's we're cutting off our nose to spite our face when we allow for these things to happen. Again, this is the person that has been responsible for the cuts to our education department. Mm-hmm. These have been the people responsible for the cuts to U.S. aid. Again, we're just giving out. Well, again, if I'm spreading goodwill on the front side,
right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Because again, it's not just minted in stone that America's going to be at a lofty position for the rest of eternity. And so we we do need and depend on other nations for our viability.
Clearly. I mean,
it's a global society.
He sat in the interview with Laura Ingraham and said to her face, we have to bring in that other talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of where we're at. And like I said, the question is why there was not a follow-up to, well, Mr. President, then why are you not doing all that you can to ensure that Americans are educated and prepared to fulfill those positions? If you are an America First person, why are you not disturbed that you have to go to other nations to fulfill engineering positions? We're not
critical positions.
Yes. And so that's the why was there not a follow-up to that? And so once again, when we're talking about free speech and accountability and what that looks like, I'm not talking about people need to be being thrown in jail, or I don't want to see folks losing their jobs and things of that nature around what may be a 10 or 15-second moment of lunacy.
Right.
But having said that, since that's the standard that you established.
Right.
Why is it that it's only seen to the accountability only seems to happen when it's certain people?
Yeah. Well, again, just you kind of spoke to it, just with the Charlie Kirk piece. Right on the heels of that, Brian Kilmeade said all homeless people should be killed.
Yes.
Barely apologized. Fox News went on with business as usual.
Yes.
And that's where I think the nuanced difference is that if you want to talk about left and right, the left is somewhat willing to hold its leadership accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just the wild, wild west out here.
And again, just back to the idea of free speech, we're in a position where you'll do these things that trample on my rights and liberties and my ability to exist and take advantage of taxpayer supported programming. but I should be not upset. I should just be okay with it.
Yeah.
And well, just write your congressman.
Yes. You have a very narrow scope in which you can express your grievances.
Right.
You know, but whereas I can call you all kinds of names, you know, I can disparage you in any sort of a way. And, you know, as long as I guess if I repeat it enough times, and then it's authentic.
Yeah.
And
well, again, and just the overall modus operandi of this administration about not supporting what's called the enemies within the Democrats.
Yes.
I was having a conversation with my niece. This was when Barack was running the first time, and she was like, you know, if I was president and I was running, I wouldn't give Republicans nothing if I won. And I was like, well, Taylor, listen, there's still tax-paying citizens on both sides of the aisle and deserve to be able to take advantages of the goods and services that are supposed to be supplied by government.
Yes.
Regardless of where you stand. And that's what's missing.
And what we've seen in this relatively recent history, you can't govern like that. Yeah. When you, even having control of both the House and the Senate, what legislation is being passed?
Exactly.
And so that's the reality of the situation. Like you said, I don't care which aisle of the political, where you fall, there's nothing being done productive.
Right.
You know, like you said, this whole idea of a government shutdown for 40 plus days, but they continue to receive their pay. When you have politicians, elected officials here in the state of Missouri, openly telling the folks that voted on a particular issue, we are going to do what we want to do in spite of the way in which you all voted.
Y'all don't know, but we know better.
Yes, there is something wrong with that system because once again, we can look at polling around, we could take an issue like around gun control. Polling tells us most Americans are for some sort of reasonable ID, some sort of a waiting period for you to be able to purchase a gun. But the political leadership says, no, we don't want to have any of that. I don't care what the people say. And that's the thing where, you know, when we talk about accountability and what the responsibility is of the electorate, this is where that comes into play.
Right. Well,
and I think you're starting to see that even in this small sample size we have around the elections that have taken place.
Right. Again, if we talk about health care, show me the everyday citizen that's a taxpayer that's just clamoring to say, hey, less health care for people. Show me the citizenry that's saying, yeah, government shouldn't subsidize health care. Show me the people. Not the corporations.
Yes.
Not the big business, not the bureaucrats, the people that says, yes, I would rather you not spend my tax dollars on keeping people healthy.
Yeah, right. And the crazy thing is, you know, they have spent so much money just on like healthcare. When we talk about, they demonized Obamacare. And so people,
which is not a thing,
right? Exactly. And so people will say, you know, I'm for the Affordable Health Care Act, but forget Obamacare.
Right.
and that just goes to show you the power of propaganda.
Right.
You know. And so, like you said, I don't know of any reasonable people that are out here clamoring for less health care coverage or to make it less affordable.
Right.
But this is what our politicians are telling us, that, you know, it's just not possible. Once the rates go up, you know, they can't come back down. And that is, like I said, a part of our responsibility as voters and as
consumers.
The electorate and as consumers to change that narrative. And, you know, it's not a redistribution of wealth to expect these corporations that are coming in here buying up all the real estate to not raise the rent to, you know, unattainable amounts. You know, it's like that's not unreasonable. It's not okay that, like I said, you know, just in my own personal experience living in Grandview, from between 2020 and now, I mean, rents doubled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the properties didn't get, you know, twice as good.
Yeah.
You know,
just all of a sudden.
all of a sudden. But what happened is that, like you said, you had these hedge funds and these corporations that came in a concerted effort and bought up all the real estate and raised the rent. And now this is what we have to deal with.
Yeah.
And to tell the people that we have no recourse to that is just crazy. And
yeah, again, 2 to 3 times a month, I get somebody trying to buy my house.
Mm-hmm.
I get something in the mail,
right.
you know, from some corporation. Some of them are local, some of them are national.
Mm-hmm.
But again, because I live in the urban core, that is part of the land grab. And again, you will be in a position where you have, you know, a nice amount of money in your pocket right now, but if you don't have a plan, that money will be gone.
Right.
And now you'll have to pay double in rent because you won't be able to afford a house.
Yes. And so, like you said, it's just so many different dynamics at work here. And so we just want to continue to encourage our audience, man, educate yourself, stay engaged, and, you know, find alternative sources for your media. That's another thing that I just want to hammer home, because when you look at what is taking place with corporate media right now, and just the lack of pushback, you know, it's disheartening. And so we want to encourage, like I said, encourage our audiences, get involved, educate yourselves, continue for you parents, stay on top of your learners so this next generation is better prepared. And, you know, we just want to continue to encourage you guys as we move into this holiday season to continue to check in with your learners, continue to be involved, and we're going to continue to focus on that. So, man, anything before we get up out of here?
Just, hey, be safe. Try to stay dry, stay warm.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just want to continue to remind everybody in this holiday season, continue to show empathy for one another, understand this affordability conversation is very real for so many of the people that we're engaging with on a day-to-day basis. So many of us are going through something. And so just be mindful of that in your interactions. Be empathetic, and just try to show a little bit of love during this holiday season. And we'll be back next week with another program. Please stay tuned for Roots Wise Reggae at the top of the hour, and we'll be back next week.